In this video, we are joined by Tejay Antone, Major League pitcher with the Cincinnati Reds and the owner of Kova Sports in Alvarado, Texas. Tejay made the trip up to VeloU to chat with some of our guys and answer questions on everything from battling injuries and pitching in the big leagues to his high school experience and the grind of pro baseball. There's a lot of valuable nuggets in this one, so stay tuned to the end.
Thanks, dog. I had a little growth spurt, so I went from 6'1" to 6'4", and put on some weight, hired a personal trainer. So at that time, there were no throwing gyms. No one knew anything about how to throw harder or anything like that. I was like, let me just get stronger. So in my school, we had late arrival. So school was supposed to start at 7:15. I had the first block off, and I would show up late every day. I wouldn't show up late. I had the first block off, and so my real first block was at 9. So I would go early in the morning, go work out at Lifetime Fitness, the local gym, do school, do baseball, go to the baseball class. Do you guys have baseball class here? Oh, we have a class period that's baseball. Yeah, I know. Be jealous. It's pretty sick. It's Texas baseball, man. So go to the baseball class. We would do on-field stuff and go get another lift in, and then we would have after-school stuff. And I would then go to my pitching lessons and my throwing lesson, or my pitching lessons, my defense lessons, my hitting lessons, right? But yeah, that senior year I had a huge jump, and I think a lot of it goes into, and I'm sticking around the high school story for a reason, because that's where you guys are at, right? But that senior year, I really poured into myself to the best of my abilities, all right? And looking back, I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything at all. And I had to rely on the people around me. And at the time, my personal trainer was working with some NFL guys, and that is who I relied on, who is now my mentor, right? He spoke a lot to me about, hey, we got to make sure we're eating enough calories. We got to make sure we're putting in consistent work. We got to make sure that we're not getting lost amongst the what's happening at school, the parties, the girls, all the things that you can very, very easily get distracted in, and just focus on yourself. Because I'll tell you this, if you make it to the big leagues or you make it to any level, you play in college baseball, there will be girls there and there will be parties there. And it's significantly better than whatever you're experiencing right now in high school, right? So do your best. My advice to you guys right now would be do your best to just pour into yourself and spend as much time and energy that you can on a daily basis on getting yourself better. And asking questions, be inquisitive, ask questions and truly seek to understand what it is that's holding you specifically back from the next level, right? Because we all see ourselves here, and we're well, I want to throw 95 and go to the big leagues, but that's not your next level. Your next level is right here, which may be going from 85 to 87. That's all you got to think about. And when you break it down like that, you're well, that's not that scary, because I can figure that out. Maybe it's 2 movements and get my squat up and improve my arm score a little bit, right? Versus I'm at 85 and I'm trying to go to 95. That's a big jump, right? And yeah, of course, that can be your end-all goal, to be in the big leagues, to play at the next level, all that stuff. But we need to take baby steps, and we have to have stepping stones to go from where we're at to the next level. And your next level is right here, right? Ask questions. Ask those questions. What is my next level, coach? What do you think is the next thing that I need to accomplish? And I can put my sights on and chase that thing down my life depends on it. Because when you have that sight, when you have those when you have that goal in sight and you chase it down your life depends on it, you will get it, right? And I think a lot of you, and I own a baseball gym back home too, Kova Sports. So I think a lot of the kids at my personal place is they work hard. They don't know where they're working for. They don't know what they're working for, right? And I think if we're hey, listen, you need to work hard at this right here, and you guys put all of your energy into that right there, you will accomplish that task. We're human beings. That's what we're made for. We're made to have goals, chase them down, and execute, all right? That's what God made us for, all right? And to love others, all right? I had to preach a little bit. I'm going to go back to my story. So my senior year, like I said, I had huge growth. I was up to 95 my senior year. I sat 1 to 3. Got drafted out of high school by the New York Mets, 22nd round, so super late, and then decided not to go to pro ball yet. I signed at TCU, Texas Christian University, so at that time, they were great. I mean, they're still good, but they were going to the College World Series, Super Regionals every year. I was super excited about being around high-level athletes and high-level baseball players. Went to TCU my freshman year, and I went from being the dude in my high school to being a nobody at college. And it's like a really quick reality check, because I'll be honest with you guys, I was super cocky and I was very arrogant, and because I was good and I loved showing people up, like especially the other team, like when they got in the box. But then I went to TCU, and everybody's good, and everybody throws 93, 95, and I'm a nobody. You know what I'm saying? Nobody knows you. You show up with no stats, right? You are just like another freshman. And so that was like a really hard hit for me, and I actually needed that a ton, because my arrogance was up here, and I needed to get brought down to where I actually was. Went to TCU. I didn't get a ton of playing time. I got like 7 innings, and I was like, I got to play if I want to get better. So I transferred to a junior college in Texas called Weatherford College. Pretty solid junior college in Texas. They had a pretty good pitching coach at the time, and went there. My velo also kind of tinkered down a little bit when I was at TCU. They wanted me to be like a heavy sinker ball guy, so I went down to like 88, 89, and still had good breaking balls. I went to Weatherford College, got my velo back up 95, 97. I got drafted in the 5th round by the Cincinnati Reds in 2014, and broke the strikeout record at Weatherford. Only held it for 1 year, and then someone else broke it, which kind of sucked. But and my record was 99 strikeouts in the year. I couldn't get the 100th strikeout. It just made me so angry. But yeah, so it was like huge accomplishment. And then let me just back up just a smidge. When I was at TCU, they had us write down our goals. And one of the goals, and I still have this notebook, and I am so proud of it, and I'll never get rid of it. I'm going to show my kids someday. But I have a goal that I wrote down, and I wrote down to be drafted in the top 5 rounds. And then for 1 year later to, like I told you guys, like when you chase down your goal, like it's your job, your life depends on it, like you can make it happen. So 1 year later, I got drafted in the 5th round by the Reds, and I was like, this is God, and he just gave me the opportunity. We're going for it. I also had the opportunity. I had signed at Auburn, so I was like, do I go to school for 1 more year and try and be a higher draft pick, or do I get drafted and go pro? I decided to go pro and start my professional career. And again, you go from being the dude at Weatherford, punching out 99 in a season and breaking the strikeout record, to the bottom of the totem pole, right? Rookie ball, where no one even cares what your name is, and they laugh at you for getting drafted in the 5th round, which is a huge accomplishment. But you're a nobody. And so just going back into that, I knew how to handle that situation a little bit better. I learned a ton. My first year in rookie ball, I had like a 7 ERA, and I was like, am I even cut out for professional baseball? Like, this is insane. The next year, I went to low A, had a 2.9, made an all-star team. The next year, I went to high A. I broke the win record, had like a 3.3 ERA, and had the most wins in the league that season. The next season, I had a AA starting spot given to me, like with my name on it already in ink, and blew out. Had my first Tommy John then in spring training. Started feeling a little naggy in my elbow. Couldn't figure out if it was just like flexor or whatever. Had the MRI, and it was like a 70% tear that I was like pitching with the whole time. So very, very devastating for me at the time, like, thinking your career's over, right? But I had seen, at that time, the social media was just starting to get big, and I had seen the other guys that had it before and had made it back, and I was like, I want to be one of those guys, one of the guys who has Tommy John and makes it back. 1 year later, I made it back from Tommy John. That was like one of the hardest years of my life, by the way, and that individual story could take 3 hours, but that was a really hard, and learned a lot of life lessons through that. So quick caveat, if you ever had adversity in your life, which I promise you will at some point, treat it as an opportunity to learn and to get better, right? Because there is someone watching you, and there's always people trying to learn from you, and whether you realize it or not, you are a hope for someone else. So keep your head up during adversity and just grind through it, because you will get through it. Made it back from that. I went back to high A. They told me that I was going to double A, and then they sent me back to high A. So I did a whole nother season in high A. The following season, I did half the season in double A. I made the all-star team. Then I went to triple A. Just got my teeth kicked in again. Had a 9 ERA in triple A, and I was like, okay, this is really hard. So we got to make some major adjustments here. I just kept learning and kept adjusting and kept trying to figure out how to get these really smart hitters out. That was 2019. So going into the 2020 preseason. I trained my butt off in the off season. My velo went up. I was sitting like 97, 99, and showed up at spring training like ready to rock. And then COVID happened, right? And you're like, dude, my opportunity just flushed down the toilet. And I was like, no, not going to happen for me. Went back home to Texas. There was a local little baseball facility that gave me a key to go in early in the morning, got my workout in when no one was there. And I was in the facility sitting 98, 99. And I was like, this is my year. This is my year right here. I went back to spring training 2.0 and just shoved it down everyone's throat. Didn't make the team. I'm like, are you serious? Like, I just had like a 0 ERA in the spring training, like punching out our own 3 and 4 hitters, and I didn't make the team. Like, come on. And the first game, someone got injured, and I got called up on the second game, and haven't looked back since. Went into that season doing any job they asked me to do. I had a very successful rookie year. 2021 went fantastic. They used me a ton. I had like a 2 ERA in the big leagues, was on track to make an all-star team, and then went down again. Had a flexor tear, did a 6-week stent, PRP injection. Went back to AAA, did a rehab stint, made it back, successful, and the first game back, tore my UCL again. So I'm like, gosh, man, like why? Like what's going on? Trying to figure it out, like went through surgery. So surgery is about a year, right? So 1 year later, I'm like, all right, we'll be ready for spring training. Strained my flexor in spring training. I'm like, come on, like this is unbelievable. It's every single step. Every time I get like right there and we're about to go, like it's something happens. So I rehab my flexor again, and then made it back to the big leagues after 2 years, which is very, very successful. It's not an easy thing to do. So I made it back to the big leagues and finished. That was 2023. I finished 23 and 23 season on the roster with the Reds. Coming back to this year. Went to spring training, was tough. They told me that I had to, earn my spot back on the team. I showed up every day, did my work, which is that's a whole portion of it, right? Being a professional about your business, showing up on time, saying yes, sir, looking someone in the eye, right? Understanding like the person's name, right? Telling them, hey, nice to meet you, Trey, and not being like awkward. Like being a professional with your work, that is a whole subset of helping you make whatever team you're trying to make. Did all those things, pitched really well, made the team out of camp, punched out Bryce Harper in the 10th inning, and then the next game after that blew out again. So I've had 3 elbow surgeries now. This one was a complete flexor tear. Currently rehabbing that, and I feel amazing right now. So the Reds just signed me back to a minor league deal this year. So I'm very excited for the opportunity for that. I'm going on my 11th season as a professional athlete. And for me, like I'm just playing with house money now. So this is all God's plan, man. And I'm just trying to be a light and a beacon to those who are going through some of the same things that I'm going through, right? Maybe they don't go through 3 Tommy John surgeries. Maybe one of you guys get hurt one day and you're like, dude, I remember you messaged me on Instagram. I remember you talked to us at VeloU. You have any advice for me? And like, I'll message you back. I will. So I want everyone here to understand that adversity is going to happen, and it's just how you respond to it. And yeah, I hope you can take a little bit of hope from my story and apply it to your life in whatever way you see fit. And I hope all of you play in the big leagues, because it's a really fun thing. But that's all I got. Do you guys have any questions? What you got?
Is there anything from your return to throws / like rehab processes that you wish you did a little bit differently?
Yeah, so I think there's kind of 2 answers on that. You always look back and you're like, maybe I should have done that different, maybe I should have done this different. But at the same time, you got to fully trust whatever program you're doing on a day-to-day basis, because if you're questioning the program you're doing, you're not bought in on it, and then you're not doing it to the best of your abilities. So yeah, I always take some time each year and look back and think about, okay, like how did that go, and like what would I have changed about it? But like in the moment, like where I'm at currently, I never question what I'm currently doing. I think I'm always doing exactly what I should be doing, and I trust the program.
What do you attribute most to like the big jump you made from junior year to senior year, just like gaining 10 miles an hour?
Yeah, what do I attribute most to my big velocity jump? Like, Y'all gonna laugh at me. Y'all are gonna laugh at me too. So Noah Syndergaard went to high school with me. I changed that. I went to high school with Noah Syndergaard. He was a senior and I was a sophomore. So I made the varsity team, but I was like the number 3 pitcher at that time. And he was our number 1. He was like 5-7 his senior year. It was unbelievable. Just like mowing dudes down. It was so cool to watch. And he all told us, we're like, Noah, you used to be like fat and kind of awkward. Like, what'd you do? And he was like, I did P90X. And so I not. Oh, sorry. Rubbed that one out. I kid you not. Everyone went and bought P90X, and I think it wasn't necessarily the program. Oh, you guys probably don't even know what P90X is. It's a series of DVDs. You guys know what DVDs are? Okay. It's a series of DVDs, like a stack of like 12 or 20 DVDs, and they were like upper body workout, like a lower body workout, like a yoga class, like all these different things. You do it. They have like this poster that you had, and it was like you do this disc on this day, and it was like a 12-week training program, and maybe it's stupid, like the program was stupid, but like I did it to the best of my abilities, and that goes back to that question. Like I fully bought in on P90X, and I kid you not, I was so strong going into my senior year. Like it's a bunch of just body weight, like push-ups, lunges, pull-ups, like all this stuff. But I did it as hard as I possibly could, and I think that is what gave me the big jump of like the velo jump. I got really strong my senior year.
Is there any advice? Because for me, I'm a short kid, but I want to make it to the next level. Is there any advice for any of like the shorter kids trying to make it to the next level?
How tall are you?
5'6", 5'7".
5'7", and you're a sophomore?
Yeah.
How tall is Tim Lincecum? I would watch a million videos of Tim Lincecum. He was 5'9", two-time Cy Young winner. Two-time Cy Young winner, throwing 95. I would watch a million videos of him. He got every inch out of his body and used it to throw the baseball. And yeah, you're right. Like you are at a disadvantage compared to like limb length, like compared to me, where I can just use my levers to throw a ball. You have to figure it out how to use every piece of your body down to your pinky toe, how to throw a baseball hard. And I would YouTube Tim Lincecum and watch that guy throw. And I would try to match a lot of what he did. And I think a lot of people here are undersized, right? On the shorter side, right? Not everyone's just blessed with like 6'4", like where you can just use long arms. So you got to figure out how to use every inch of your body to throw a baseball hard. A lot of it comes down to strength. A lot of it comes down to mobility and flexibility, right? And then coordinating all that on the mound, right? And that takes time. And give yourself like space to grow there, right? I didn't feel like I peaked as a pitcher until I was 27 years old, right? And then looking back, I'm like, yeah, that's probably my peak back there. Not anymore. But it just takes time. Like thinking about what I knew as a pitcher and as a senior in high school, I didn't know anything. I was like, throw ball hard. Okay, got it. Like hard down the middle, here's my curveball. Like, and that's what I threw. I had a big 12-6 curveball and a back spinning fastball. That's all I had. And just growing as a pitcher, learning other pitches, like learning how to move your body more efficiently, like where it's not as hard on your body. Like there's a whole number of things of ways you can figure out how to throw harder and use your body better.
How did you like mentally come back from your injuries? Like obviously physically something different, but like going through like after your first and second, now third, obviously, like how did you mentally come back from these?
You want to know for real? Like the short answer? Because I'm a dog. I'll tell you that. Like, I'm just telling you that I am. Like I'll wake up and I eat other people's breakfast. And so like that's step one. Like you gotta like wake up and do it. And like you gotta like learn how to like look past what other people say about you too. Because I can't tell you how many people have said something about me. Oh, this guy's got 3 elbow surgeries. It's like, watch me. So like I think being a dog is like, you could say it, oh, I'm a dog, but like until you show up and do it every day, and it's like a consistent thing too. It's not like, oh, on certain days I'm a dog and then the other days I'm a teddy bear. Like, no, you got to be a dog every day in every aspect of your life. You just wake up and you eat your breakfast and everyone else's breakfast, and you take it. You just take what you want, right? And we're respectful, right? We're respectful. We're kind to others. Like that's very important, right? But you know what I'm saying? Like I'm a dog. Like that's all there is to it. some people aren't dogs, you know. They're like little chihuahuas, you know. They've got a loud bark and they don't do much.
All right. What do you think was your biggest adjustment coming from the minor league seasons where you had a higher ERA and then bouncing back into a great season, then maybe falling back into the higher ERA seasons?
For me personally, it was learning how to land a breaking ball in off counts, in hitters counts, I should say. 2-0, 3-0, 2-1s, 0-0, like landing breaking balls in hitters counts. Super important when you start to get to higher levels. What I tell high schoolers all the time, what you need to be able to do is throw a fastball for a strike, throw a fastball for a ball. Throw a breaking ball for a strike, throw a breaking ball for a ball. Now, I say that you have to know it's going to be a ball when you throw it for a ball, and you have to know it's going to be a strike when it needs to be a strike. So many times I think we get caught up on I'm trying to hit the outside corner with my breaking ball. It's like, dude, you're 16. Give yourself a break. Throw it hard and with great conviction in the zone, and throw it hard and with conviction out of the zone, and you'll trick hitters all day long. But yeah, the short answer is learn to throw breaking balls in hitters counts with great conviction, where your hand looks like a fastball and it's coming out. Not here's my curveball, and then you have a fast hand on the fastball. It's got to look the same, and making that look like a married couple is unbelievable. Yeah.
And then as a follow-up to that question, what do you think was the biggest change that you noticed at each level from college at TCU, then all the way from rookie ball all the way up to the majors?
Yeah, hitters have better and better approaches, and then the margin of miss for a hitter is less and less. So they have better approaches, and then they miss less. Do any of y'all take that train? We don't have trains in Texas, so that's crazy. Yeah, so big league level hitter, incredible approach. Never misses a fastball down the middle, very rarely, right? And then you go down to a low A, it's stupid approach and can still probably hit the down the middle ball pretty well, right? And then you go down to high school, it's zero approach and a squirrel might find a nut, fastball down the middle. So understanding the different approaches that they have, and it becomes a chess match, understanding what they're looking for. Do you hit as well?
A little bit.
I also found a huge unlock specifically in the big leagues when I had to get in the box against a major league pitcher, and I was slider away. I'm oh, that's what a slider looks like. That's nasty. I'm throwing that more, that pitch right there. Because if you understand the way tunnels work, if you ever watched Trevor Bauer and the way he speaks, I got to play with Trevor in 2020, so I got to hear all of that firsthand. Why are you throwing this pitch in that count? Did you not watch how he reacted? And I'm what do you mean? Did I not watch how the hitter reacted? And I kid you not, if you go watch some games now, go watch a major league game. You can't right now, obviously, because it's off season, but watch a guy a slider will come and you see him get a little buckled and he takes the pitch, but as a pitcher, you're throwing the pitch and you're watching your pitch and you're yeah, executed that pitch. That was great. No, when you're able to throw the pitch and then watch what the hitter does or how he reacts to it, either how his swing changes or where he fouls the ball off or where he's falling, depending on the pitch, that'll tell you a lot about what he's looking for, and then you can just play into his hand. Oh, you're looking for something outside. I'm going to blow your doors off inside now, or vice versa. You're trying to turn on something inside. Now I'm just going to feed you fastballs outside because you're just going to roll over and I'll just get you out. That's also another thing is making sure your ego doesn't get ahead of yourself and being I'm going to strike everyone out, and understanding that sometimes just getting a ground ball out is what you need to do. Just here, give them the sinker down low down the middle and let them roll over, and then you just get the next batter.
I know you already touched on this a little, but how does going to high school with Noah Syndergaard and being not one of the best pitchers in your high school, how does that competitive nature help you become a better player and also help your character going through high school as well as that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So how does going to high school with Noah Syndergaard make me a better player?
And character.
And character?
Having better character.
Oh, well, like I said, I didn't have the greatest character. I was a good person to people, but I was still very arrogant in high school. And I think it was just more of the dominance of being on the mound and being very successful on the mound, got to my head. But yeah, when you get a piece of humble pie, that'll play a lot into it. I also saw what greatness looked like with Noah, and especially in high school, he was a first-round draft pick out of high school. So you can't get better than that, obviously. And so seeing that and understanding that I had that ability, maybe not to that extent, but I had that ability, gave me a ton of confidence on the mound. But like again, like I had a little too much confidence. So like when I went to school, when I went to TCU, and there were a lot of other pitchers doing that, that was my piece of humble pie. It was like, oh, everyone does this, and that's one thing. I had a kid the other day came in. He said, "I'm the best player on my team." I was like, "Yeah, but that doesn't matter because what if your team sucks?" You know what I'm saying? So you don't want to be the best player. I mean, yes, you want to be the best player on your team, but you also want to be the best player in the area, in the state, and then in the country, and then in the world, right? Every single day, my dad asked me, did you work harder than every person in the world with the same dream as you? And like, if you actually think about that question, you're competing against the kid in the DR who's throwing rocks against the fence, right? And then you guys have this sick training facility, and that kid's throwing rocks against the fence. And you're competing against that guy. He wakes up every day trying to get out of the DR, trying to get some sort of scholarship or a pro team to see him. And then every day you come to this sweet facility and you're like, I'm tired. Not you, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to have those days. You're like, I'm tired. I don't want to work hard. And it's like, what do you do? You have the opportunity in front of you. You just got to go for it. And that's where that dream comes in, and chasing your dream and taking one step at a time and being consistent. All those things come into play.
So obviously you've pitched to a lot of catchers. So like, what's something that the best of those catchers do that like make them stand out to you?
Make me look good. Yeah. If you made, right? Am I right? If you made me look good, I love you. If you made me look bad, I hate you. You have to make it look good back there. And that's where the game's going. It's like framing, right? And then like have a good arm throwdown, right? If you can get guys out, and then banging, of course. Like, you have to bang. But yeah, I love catchers that make me look good.
So I guess I'm going to ask this question on kind of behalf of the group here.
Yeah.
We obviously get to see them for a very small percentage of time in reality, right? We get them for 2 or 3 hours a day, and they're not in this building for 20, 21 hours of the day. If you had to give advice to these guys on the best things they can do for themselves when they're not in a training setting or a throwing setting, what would that be?
It's a great question. I would say number one, like the most prioritized thing would be sleep good. Like, that's like, because then that allots you more training and like being able to push your body harder. And that's something I didn't realize until actually probably professional baseball. But like, being a really good sleeper and giving yourself 8 hours of sleep a night, which, by the way, everyone has sleep efficiency. So that means if you lay your head down at midnight and you wake up at 8 a.m., you did not just sleep for 8 hours. You just slept for 6 hours probably. Like, you're going to wake up and turn over in the middle of the night. No matter what, even if you think you slept the entire night, you do not sleep straight because you maybe unconsciously woke up and turned over and then went back to sleep. So you're going to miss 30 minutes here, 15 minutes there, every once in a while. So for me personally, I know I wear an Oura ring, so I track my sleep. I know my sleep efficiency is about 80%. So I have to be in bed for 10 hours every night in order to get my 8 hours of sleep. But sleep is like one of the most prioritized things. I also think, like, for you guys, to be honest with you, like, I think you should have like an outside hobby that's not baseball. Like, being able to check out from the sport and like play video games. Like, dude, I love video games. I think they're great. And like, being able to, when you're here or doing baseball things, like being fully bought in on the baseball thing and like not focus on anything else. Don't worry about Snapchatting some girl that messaged you or checking your Instagram. That can wait. And then you go home and maybe that's when you check out and you're like, you know what, I worked my butt off today and I earned this video game time. Now, that also comes back to the sleep thing, being able to like cut yourself off, not doing all-nighters and running it into the next day, and then all of a sudden you have a high-intent day and you slept for 4 hours and you're like, I'm tired, and you had a test and you're all stressed out because your girlfriend broke up with you, and then you're wondering why you're only pulling down 82. You know what I'm saying? So it matters what you do outside of here. Sleep great. Eat more calories because all of you guys are underweight, and have a hobby outside of baseball that you can pour your life into, because it's fun to do other things too.
Is there any advice you can give me about like recruiting processes for college, like getting the confidence to talk to colleges and kind of just going through the whole process?
Yeah, so you said you're a sophomore? Don't worry about recruiting. So if you're a sophomore, personally, that's what I believe. Maybe other people have different opinions. High school is like running a mile on a track, okay? It's four laps on a track. Nobody cares what position you're on lap 1. Nobody cares what position you're on lap 2. People start paying attention lap 3, and it really matters lap 4, right? So you're in lap 2 right now, okay? And I would say stay with the pack to the best of your abilities, like amongst your peers. Do your best to maybe inch towards the front, right? Make your gains where you're at, but understand it's still lap 2. And don't put too much pressure on what's after the race, because you're still in lap 2 right now. And enjoy lap 2. Like, if you're always so focused on what's going on out there, oh, what's next? I want to go to college. Of course you do. Like, everyone in here does. You saw all the hands go up when I asked that question. But you're in lap 2. Enjoy it. Like, stay with your friends. Like, try and compete with them and see who can be better, amongst your friends. And then let your skills that you have just now worked on during lap 2 and lap 3, let those skills shine, right? And then I promise you, if you work on yourself and you develop yourself, you will have the confidence to approach a school and be like, hey, I really want to go here. Like, what do I need to do to show you that I'm a good fit for your school, right? And I want to study X, Y, Z at your school, right? And this makes sense for me. How can I make it make sense for you? Because for the coach, why should he take you, right? You have to convince him, essentially, right? So that's kind of my rule of thumb. High school is like running a mile, right? Know what lap you're on and enjoy and stick in that lap. By lap 3 and 4, that's when it's time to start picking it up and start going. But you better be running the mile, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you ain't training, then waste your time.
So like in season, after coming back from surgery and all that stuff, like what were some things you did to like keep arm health up, like after a start or after you've come out like out of the bullpen or something? Like what were some things you did to recover and
so I'm a big photomodulation believer in red light therapy. So I had a panel for a long time, which is the cheap model. It's like a $300 panel that I would just bake my arm in red light. It helps increase mitochondria efficiency in the cell, which can help excrete toxins faster and the recovery process. I've since bought a cold laser, which is like an $8,500 like laser that I just blast on my elbow. It works great. Not saying go buy it because you probably don't have $8,500, but for me in my career, like that's something that I invested in on that. And then, so that helps me feel more confident because I feel better, right, on the backside of that. And then just staying on top of my post-throw type stuff. Like, I'm not a big ice guy, but, staying in my routine, like really sticking to routines. I'm a very routine-oriented person. So sticking to routines, doing post-throw. I found that arm care also gives me some confidence as well, just like being able to monitor my scores. But I also, on the days that I don't test well, I don't like pour into it. I'm not like, oh no, like I'm gonna die because I scored low today. Understand that like CNS has fluctuations in it, and outside life stress can attest to sometimes a lower score. That's where you reach out to these guys and ask them for some advice. Be like, hey, I tested low today. Like, what should I do? And they may make an adjustment. They may not, right? And just be like, you're good. But as far as like in-season confidence, arm care score definitely helped. And then just sticking to my routine in terms of my recovery and then my pre and post game stuff.
What's some advice that you could give the guys on time management when they get to college?
Ooh, that's a great question. So what's some advice that I can give you guys on time management when you get to college? I learned the hard way. I just went through it the hard way. My first test at TCU was an open book test. All right, for real, answer this question honestly. If you had a test and it's an open book test, are you going to study for it? No. All right, me either. I didn't study for it either. So I had an open book test at TCU. I'm like, it's open book. Like, what can be so hard about this? I literally went to class and pulled the plastic off the book during the test, and it was over chapter 13, and I'm going through it and oh yeah, this is easy, going back and forth. I made a 54 on the test. So time management is very important in terms, when you go to college, you have now two professions. You have to be a student and you have to be an athlete. And allocating time for both of those is very important. So at TCU, we had required study hall hours. We had we would go to a location where I had to punch in my ID and log 10 hours a week. And they were very hard on it. So spending quality time in your books, making sure you're getting good grades, because the coach will get on you. Coaches get audited on that, and they look at your team GPA is a 2.5 and it needs to be a 3, and then they go look at all their students. They're like, oh, Jimmy has a 2. Like he's gonna run until he dies. You know what I mean? So if his job is on the line on you and your study, like it's important to spend time on that. But as far as, like I spoke on earlier, like making sure you block yourself off to sleep really well, having an alarm clock to go to bed, that's a challenge for you. Instead of an alarm clock just to wake up, but an alarm clock that goes off that tells you to go to bed. And then honoring it too, like, okay, let me start my routine to go to bed. I think sleep is probably the most important thing. And then from there, just finding a good schedule where you're spending, your time blocking and spending enough time on different aspects of your life that you find important, whether that be training, school, friends, right? And then not overdoing any of those areas.
What advice would you give to like a freshman, sophomore that's trying to like stay motivated, get stronger and all that?
So motivation is 100% BS, what I believe, okay? I think motivation is you're motivated because you want something to happen, right? So you have a goal in mind, right? And if you have a goal in mind and then you have the steps to achieve this goal and you do the steps, like what do you need motivation to do the steps for, right? I think motivation is just like this thing we create. We're like, ooh, I can't wait to. I think there's motivation in the mind, right? And you can create it or you can not have it. There's days that I don't want to train and I still train my butt off every single day because I don't have to be motivated to do it. I just know that I have to do it, and that's what it needs to be done. So in order to stay motivated, I maybe in your mind, maybe keep the goals front and center on your mind and then also shorten the goals. Like I was talking about, if your goal is way over here, I want to throw 95 and you're at 80, like that's a long ways away and you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel on that. So shorten the goal gap so you can achieve the goal quicker and then have it forefront. Like, dude, write a sticky note on your mirror and slap it on your mirror. Like, I'm throwing 82 by December 5th. You know what I'm saying? Which is my birthday. I don't know why I just said my birthday on there. But have a goal, and it's like, ask him, when's my pull down day? All right, that's my day, December 5th, bam, 82, right? And it's like, that's a small goal, and then do the steps that needs to be taken to achieve that goal. And if you don't know what steps need to be taken, then you gotta ask these guys, because they should have the steps. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question? Okay.
Did you play any other sports in high school?
I played football my freshman and sophomore year, and then I saw one of my really good friends obliterate his ankle on the field, and I'm like, I ain't playing football anymore. So I quit football. My dad played football at University of Oklahoma and won a national championship ring, so it was like heavy in my family. But yeah, and then from my sophomore year on, I just played baseball.
Do you think it's better for baseball players to stick to one sport or like play other athletics?
Ooh, that's a trick question. It depends on who you are. I think it completely depends on who you are, because I think if you need to allot more time if you're severely behind in your baseball skill, then you need, and that is your goal, like you want to play baseball in college, you need to allot more time to train to catch up to get to the average and then to get ahead so you can be above average in baseball. I think there's some of us that are blessed with higher skill and that are maybe already average or above average in baseball, and they can spend time doing other sports, and because playing a sport is taking away from training, right? So if you're playing football, you're not training, and if you are below average and you aren't training, then you know what I'm saying? Like you're wasting time. If that's your real goal, like to play baseball the next level. If you just want to play baseball in high school, then or like just play in college, or play football and baseball in high school, then go do it all. You know what I mean? Or basketball or whatever else it is. But I think if you're below average, you need to spend a lot of time training in baseball.
I wanted to ask you how in between outings. So you're a reliever, obviously. In between outings, you might have different time periods. How do you mentally and physically prepare yourself for that?
Yeah, so I was a starter my entire career until I got to the big leagues, and then I started relieving, so it was a very hard transition for me. At first, my dog mentality showed up, and I was just like, I want to do it every day because I could. I had that ability to. I was recovering really well. But then understanding that I can't do that over the course of 162 games, like, woke me up, and I'm like, oh, God, I need to have, like, a really good ironed-out routine. I don't even have one right now. I would ask your peers and ask your coaches, what's a good routine for me if I'm throwing on this kind of schedule? Because even me, I didn't even know how to do that in the big leagues, and I had to ask other guys, like, hey, how do you throw on back-to-back days, like, without being sore the next day? They're like, oh, I do this, this, and this. Like, oh, I'm going to do that. And then you try it out, and it either works for you or it doesn't, or you make a little adjustment to it, and that's really, all it comes down to, because I can tell you my exact routine, and then you go try it, and you're like, dang, this makes me so sore. It's like every single one of us in this room are different humans, and different things are going to work for us, but, like, you have to kind of try it to see what works for you and then make adjustments from there.
Two things. So, side note, I play MLB The Show, and your card's really good.
I know. I'm nasty in the show.
Yeah, he's filthy. And second, the real question, I guess. You're a reliever, so how, like, after a bad start or a start you don't like, how do you come back and have the mindset there, like, I'm still the guy out there, I'm still the dog?
Yeah, so I always, if you have 10 starts, okay, one's going to be incredible and one's going to be really bad. It really matters what you do in the 8, right? That's who you are as a pitcher in the 8. And so understanding that, like, if I have that really bad start or that suboptimal start, I just flush it, because I don't even attach myself to that. I'm saying that's not me. Yeah. Like, that wasn't me. I didn't do this XYZ to my best ability. And then I go, like, that is my training focus. Like, for me, for example, so I go into an outing and I try to throw a 2-0 breaking ball for a strike, and I just hang it and the guy hits it a mile. Mm-hmm. Like, in between the next outings, I will throw 400 sliders until I get it down, because I want it locked in for my next outing, right? So, and then the other thing I like to do is I call it pick 2. So you have a bad outing, or you have a good outing, or whatever, you have a medium outing. What'd you do really, really good? Yeah. One thing. What did you do really, really bad? One thing. Instead of, I think so many times as us athletes, we like, oh, I had this bad outing, I walked so many guys, and I gave up the homer, and I did this, and I couldn't hold the runner on, and like, you have all these bad things, and then you're like, hey, but what about your third inning? Like, you punched aside. Yeah, but I did all these bad things, and we harp on, like, these 10 bad things against one good thing, and it doesn't balance in our mind. So I think if we are able to stick it to one bad and one good, and no matter what your outing is, if you have a good outing or a bad outing, you find the good thing and you find the bad thing, and you work on the bad and you stay consistent on the good, like, it helps your mind stay a little bit less negative, I should say, because then you're not harping, you don't have this overweighed negativity for that outing.
I hear you keep talking about, like, that dog mentality. Would you consider yourself, like, to have a alter ego?
Ooh, good question.
And if you do have one, how do you shut him down when he's not in between the lines?
So I'll tell you a story, and then I'll tell you my answer. So Amir Garrett, everybody know who Amir Garrett is? Yeah. He, like, fought the whole Pirates team. Okay, so he was, a little bit of a vet whenever I was a rookie. Took me under his wing, and super nice guy, except when we were in the bullpen. Like, he had a friend came out to center field, and he, like, waved to him, hey, Amir, what's up? And Amir said some choice words to him, was like, quit talking to me, and I'm like, bro, what? That was so weird. Like, what? That's one of your boys. He's like, yeah, I train with him in the off season, but he's the enemy right now. And I'm like, oh, like, wow. And he was like, he's talking to AG, and so AG was his alter ego. And it was like Amir Garrett, like Amir was the guy, right? And then AG was like him in the baseball mode. He had a true alter ego, and that was the first time I had ever seen, like, a true alter ego. And I used to think I had that alter ego, but I don't think I have an alter ego. I just love winning in whatever I'm doing. And so even in this talk right now, like, I like winning, and that's like executing a really good answer so that they can understand it, right? So I don't think I personally have an alter ego, and I don't like shutting my mentality of wanting to win down. I want to win in every aspect of life, so I just take that and go everywhere with it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is there a guy, either league, out of the league, who you look up to for your mentality, for that dog mentality, and like kind of been that inspiration throughout your career?
Yeah, I mean, AG is my inspiration of like being a dog. Like that guy's a killer, like 100% killer. AG is. Amir's a goofball, like just the guy himself, goofball, absolute goofball. AG is a killer, and like, yeah, I think you're right, like watching someone else be a killer, you're like, oh, that's what it looks like. And then you understand, like, I could do that. Like, I can do that and be that. And then understanding, the last part of it is understanding how to control it, right? Which is like not being outside of yourself. Because I think when we pitch, like, and you guys can, some of you guys can test this. You get on the mound, like, and you're trying to be this, like, you're trying to hype yourself up so much, right? I think it's really important to understand where you succeed at. Some people succeed at being a 10, right? And that's that guy, like huffing and puffing, like adrenaline's out the roof. And then some guys are successful at being 6s, right? And then you have to understand, okay, if I'm successful, me personally, I'm successful like a 7, which out of 10 of being like, geeked out of my mind, right? So if I understand, like, I'm successful at being a 7 and I go into a game and I'm a 4, I have to hype myself up to get to a 7. Right? But say I walk into a game and it's bases loaded and Freddie Freeman's up to bat, I'm going to be a 10, right? So I have to understand I got to get myself down to a 7 so I can execute what I need to execute. And I think, yes, seeing someone else be a dog is super important, because then you're like, that's sick. Like, I want that. But then also understanding, what are you successful at on that dog mentality scale? Like, you have to be within yourself, because you have to be able to control yourself on the mound and not be outrageous, right? You just can't be like a 12 out of 10. It's like, what are you doing? Yeah. Me, I'm a 7, maybe an 8 if I'm feeling extra geeked. But I don't ever let myself get into the 9 or 10s, because I'm going to start spraying balls like crazy. And like, yeah, you can throw really hard, but understanding, like, I got to throw a strike, or I got to throw a ball, or whatever it is. And that for me is like a 7 or 8, where I'm like confident and I feel good and like I'm ready to go, but I'm also not like a 2 or a 3 or a 4 where I'm like asleep up there. It's like And some people are successful there, which is crazy for me. I cannot attest to them for what, like, how. But some people get on the mound, they're just like, and they just punch tickets, and you're like, what? This guy looks like he's like half asleep just pitching up there. Some people are good at that, but for me, I'm like a 7, maybe an 8. And I like being bouncy, being fun, but if I find myself in the 9, 10s, and that's just a self-check kind of constantly. Like, I mean, it could be in between pitches. Like, you throw a pitch and an umpire calls a bad call. You're like, mad about it. Now you're all of a sudden a 10 and you need to be a 7, right? And then you hold that 10 and you walk a guy, and then you're figuring out. And then I always tell high schoolers this: the difference between you and me is I make an adjustment in one pitch and it takes you 3 batters. Right? So learning how to quickly make adjustments, not only with your mentality, but with your execution and with your mechanics, making very, very, very fast adjustments. Sometimes even mid-pitch, like, you might have flew open a little bit and you're like, boom, you make that adjustment middle of the throw. So I hope I answered your question.
Got that.
Okay, cool. All right, let's get to work, guys. Let's get to work. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you.